Hello. Sorry, I think we're just sitting there for a minute doing nothing and just what's going on?
Hello. Seamless start for our podcast listeners who are listening after the fact, but we are recording this on the 20th of September.
We are indeed, or at least trying to. Apologies to everybody who's been sitting and waiting for our appearance. There's 19 of them, Robin. I don't know what it is.
It's not the most we've had in weeks and months, and that's when my computer decided not going to work. They just said, "Oh, I'm not going to do that." No. No,
computer says no. So please do shout if there's anything, if the audio's wonky or if the video's weird or anything like that. Obviously, we've got the secondary audio broadcasting as always. So all the podcasters hopefully get our nice and crisp sound from our GarageBand production, but unfortunately we're just doing Discord for the audio here.
Hopefully everything's recording. I feel like it was a bit of a run. Hopefully you can hear me and what have you. So we're going to go on. Yeah. There we go.
So we are here.
So Peter. Yes. What is tonight's topic of conversation that we will get on to in about 45 minutes?
Games Workshop small games.
Small games for small marks.
Small for small attention spans. Sorry, what were you saying? I wasn't listening. It could be 45 minutes, might be shorter.
We haven't played any of these small games recently. We did a couple of live shows, didn't we? A Blade Board and Fire Team, but that was a month or so ago now.
Yeah.
But we've been all about the Underworld, which is kind of like borderline a small box game. We'll dovetail with that bit of the discussion later on. It comes in a small box, at least. But it's not quite. I wouldn't call it a small game. But we have been playing some Underworlds because Underworlds fans know there's been a new Rivals deck, which is called the something. I can't remember what it's called.
The Deadly Depths. Deeply Dippy about the Deadly Depths.
Deeply Dippy about the Deadly Depths. That's it. And we've had a Grom, the Gore Chosen of Grom.
Yeah.
Which we played and hopefully people enjoyed. Maybe.
Yes, sorry, I was just reading the comments. Sterling says, War Machine was asking how small is small. Can you define it? About that small. So
I think we mean standalone. Really.
Yes, so basically something where you don't have to buy boxes and boxes and boxes of models to be able to play. You pick that thing up, and what you've picked up off the shelf you can play with.
Yeah, we've got Nathan Hayden who's looking forward to our Underworld competition we are doing. Yes, we were talking about that in a second. But yes, I'm quite looking forward to that. We got Mweli back in when he saw the stream title. Let's get small tonight. And hello there. Yes, that's my watchword.
Yeah. So yes, we're going to be talking about that. We've got a few other bits as this is our shiny games roundup. So we're going to talk about some of the shiny games and stuff going on around the world of hobby that always distracts. And then we'll get on to the main subject. So if you people, I did wonder that was one of my sort of original. Do we go with that? But yeah, people get the idea, don't they? So I think we'll start going through all the other bits and bobs. If people have anything that they wish to contribute during, then do please post it in the chat as always, and we will try and answer any questions and stuff as we go.
We have we've done our usual kind of
5 minute prep.
We'll go through our usual rundown of what we've been up to in recent weeks, or in the last 2 weeks, in fact. So I'm just trying to get the chat up and the agenda at the same time. But all I've done
never going to work. Just lost it.
I'm sure it could work if I wasn't incompetent. Right, so we played Moonstone. We have what might be the world's longest game of Moonstone, which is ironic, really, because that is a small box game. The box is tiny.
Sort of.
But the box is tiny.
Yeah, it's a small box, but it's not a small box game.
It's a skirmish game. But we managed to make it last hours. I don't know whether we will go back to 4 team member games for our next game, or not, just to cement the rules, whether we're going to keep ploughing on with the 6 members. But by the end of it, my brain did hurt. I loved it.
I think because we did have some new characters in there, so we were playing with some we'd never played before, and we were going from 4 to 6. But I do think that we probably covered all of the rules now, and it's a really good intro to the game as a whole, I think, because we did go through all the rules and how it worked, and we had can't remember his name, but there was one gentleman who was helping us out with all of the questions as we were playing.
He knew everything.
Yeah, so
we should just get him to come and sit in the studio next time.
he could just read the rules to us as we go along. Mind you, if we read the rules, we probably would know the answers. So yeah.
Well, we did read the rules.
We sort of did.
Reading rules.
Is that time when you were reading the rules and you? Yeah, it was that time when you were reading the rules and you read any instead of. I can't remember. But basically, it said one thing, and you read completely the opposite word. And I was like, "Hang on, is it this or is it that one?" You were like, "No, it's the other one. Just read the wrong word. Just made it up."
Oh, I do that a lot. Well, making short goes take ages is Morph's jam. He said he played Marvel Champions before yesterday. Game lasted 3 hours and he still lost.
Wow.
Yeah, that can be a problem with those games. Lord of the Rings tends to last longer than the Marvel ones. The problem is when I'm playing solo, I find it really hard to justify playing for that long. I'm trying to get back into both those games, but when you're looking at a solid hour and a half to play it, it's kind of hard to justify it with everything else that's going on. Yeah, I do enjoy those games. I want to get them back to the table. But so Moonstone is really good, and we're going to carry on playing that. Well, I think we're going to do a month of Moonstone, aren't we?
A month of Moonstone, yeah. A month of Moonstone.
Yeah, a month of Moonstone, because we've ordered some more stuff. Not that we actually need more stuff, because we haven't got on with this stuff yet, but due to my mistake and other stuff I ordered, I had to order some more stuff to go with it. That was my excuse.
Oh yeah, well, I mean, that's always the way. If you're not quite sure if you quite got it right, then buy more of it. That's the way to work it out.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. And I've also been playing the War of the Rings card game. We had a game of that as well, didn't we, Pete?
Yeah.
We played the 2-player variety of that, which I really enjoyed it. You didn't enjoy it, and then you did enjoy it when you realised you weren't being beaten by quite as much as you thought you were. Yeah,
it's one of those games you have to be aware of that it's what's the word when it's not an equal. It's not chess, basically.
Asymmetric.
That's the word. It's an asymmetric game. Once you realise that, it's not quite so bad, but it can be very depressing if you're playing it. You're not aware that it's asymmetric.
I think it's harder because I had played several games and you hadn't. So I think that I find that with quite a lot of games. If you're playing with somebody who knows what they're doing, like you've been playing Seven Wonders. If you play Seven Wonders with somebody who knows what they're doing when you don't know what you're doing, then you pretty much are going to lose. I don't know.
I mean, I remember when we first played our first game of Seven Wonders. It's not a GW small game, but it is a small game. It's a fantastic game. But I remember us playing Seven Wonders with our old board gaming group, and I won the very first game of that, and I had no idea what I was doing. And then I thought I had an idea. Sorry?
Okay. I don't know how much everybody else we were playing with had played at that point.
I thought everyone else had played it a few times at least.
I've since played with Stu, and he plays regularly, and he doesn't always win, but he certainly, once we picked up a few tips from him, it was a bit closer, but he certainly smashed us in the first game we played. Robin, any tips on beating Claw? I just can't think to beat him with Spider-Man Justice. I've got a feeling, I can't remember, we might have a video where I played him with Spider-Man Justice. I definitely played him on I'm pretty sure, on the channel, but I can't remember what hero I used. But have a look, have a check, see. Moonstone. Yes, I was trying to think of a good way of getting Moonstone. It's not so easy.
See, I was reading that and I just thought you'd written Moonstone. I'm sitting there, yes, we are talking about Moonstone, but I realised it's actually a pun. So apologies for that. It's actually much funnier than I thought it was to start
with. I was also imagining trying to play it with the new Into the Dark scenery. Like a 40k version of Moonstone.
Moonstone got grimdark all of a sudden.
Moonstone on a space hog, and I was trying to think if you could have moon 40k. I couldn't. Yeah.
So, what else is on our agenda this evening, Robberin?
Agenda this evening is, I'm just reading those comments, lots of comments coming in. This is the problem when you have 22 people watching.
22! You're all awesome, and if you're enjoying yourselves
well,
this evening, do hit the like button.
Talking of in one new game, we haven't played this yet, Pete, but I might suggest we play it on the channel, although I think it would be better if we can rope in a couple of extra people, or at least one extra person, that I've learned to play over this long weekend. That
Strip
we had,
poker.
At June Imperial.
Oh.
Strip poker. Well, I know the kids have been playing poker, not strip poker. We have been playing poker. But we also learnt to play. I learnt to play June Imperium. I don't know if anybody's played that. It was the Geek Dad Game of the Year last year, and I bought it on the back of it. The fellas there are pretty reliable. It's a good game, and it is a really good game. It's got some deck building elements, like well, not so much like Undaunted, but a bit like Undaunted, but more like a game called Ascension. And then, but it has worker placement elements too. So there's a bit at the end of the round where you can draw cards, and then you use your cards to place people in different places in the Dune map, and then you have fights and things. It's very good. We'll try and play it, but I don't know if anybody else has played it, but it's most enjoyable. And apparently the expansion is very good too. More for talking about expansions than buying them. I've now got one eye looking at the expansion, even though I've only played one full game of the actual main set. Kind of how it goes, isn't it? Oh, there's an expansion. I'll buy that.
She's got some other comments in there.
Dune Imperial Technique, and he loved it. But there you go. Have you tried the expansion? Does it make it better? So I only have one source, so the expansion makes it even better.
Morris was asking, have we tried playing one with the other factions? I did respond and say we have played it with the other factions that you get in the box, but there's only 6 in the box. So we did record games featuring all of them, and I think we streamed a game featuring, I can't remember who it was now. I think it was the Despoilers. In fact, we played 2 games, didn't we? It was Despoilers versus, I can't remember him now. We definitely played Zinch, we definitely played Despoilers, we definitely played Ravagers, and I think we played Garrix or something like that.
I think we've played them all, one form or other.
We have.
But yeah, we haven't played any. We haven't made up any rules or got any rules from elsewhere to play factions that aren't official. We'll come back to that after we've done our roundup, I think. Otherwise, we're going to end up getting stuck in the middle.
Stuck in the middle with you.
What we've been doing, we've been getting ready for Agents Con. Those of you who are coming, looking forward to seeing you at the weekend. It's this Saturday up in Market Harbour. There's still tickets available. He says like they're selling out fast. And you can come to see us in Market Harbour this weekend if you wish. For simply come for £5, or if you do sign up to our Patreon, you can come for free.
Yeah.
So I think, but it's probably too late to change your plans now. Unfortunately, I can't say that. It's not funny. So we're getting ready for Agents Con, and then we also had, you may have seen a video going out today, we had a couple of videos going out today about a new kind of more Pete's new idea. But I'm not going to say it. It's a big idea, so it's a good one, which is that we have a little battle in Underworld.
Yeah, we're going to be playing a knockout tournament.
In Garrick's face.
Yeah, although I'm probably not going to pick Garrick. Although I can't pick Garrick. I've already picked my Chaos Warband, and it's not Garrick because there were just too many. But yes, I've picked Noble. It's my first one. Robin's going to announce his tomorrow, I think.
As well, haven't we?
Yeah.
We just played Garrick.
You're going to announce your first pick tomorrow?
The new boy.
Yeah, I did.
I am going. I'm going to record when we finish here. I'm going to put my phone out with me. I'm going to record the video when we finish here. I'm going to pick. I'll give you a little sneak preview. I am going to pick a Destruction Warband. So there you go.
So in the comments below, who do you think Robin's going to pick? And if you're listening to this on the podcast a few days later, you'll probably be able to catch up on all the different choices we made, but we won't have started the actual tournament yet, because that's going to kick off next week after Agents Con.
Yeah, are we going to start? Are we going to do the first one live next Tuesday, maybe?
Yeah, I reckon so. I think that'll be a good start. We can pick our first match-up and crash on with that.
Yeah, juicy. Okay, brilliant.
Juicy.
Okay, so I mustn't now say which warband it is. Otherwise.
I'm going to guess it's not Gerzag.
Well, Gerzag actually was one of my most likely picks because I don't really like any of the Destruct Warbands apart from the Git.
It's true.
Somebody's guessed Hexbane.
Someone said just text me. Someone said Crusade. It's destruction. Destruction. Text.
I am picking a destruction warband. Destruction warband. Robin will pick the jammiest warband that rolls with the crits. That is correct. I am hoping to pick that one.
Yeah, keep your eye out for those.
So that's kind of what we've got coming up as well on our agenda. We've got what coming up. We've got Moonstone coming up, month of Moonstone, and I guess 7 games. Is it? I can't remember.
It'll be 7 in total.
The various tournaments. There's four semi-finals. It says putting up 8 fingers.
There'll be 4 quarter-final games. Yeah, 4 quarter-final games, and then 2 semi-finals and a final.
Yeah, a final. And then if everybody likes that and people watch it and want more, then maybe we'll pick another 8.
Yeah.
16, and then we can have a winners play. But yeah, so that's going in the future. So Underworld is definitely on the agenda. I think we're going to be playing it all game here on a Tuesday, maybe a couple of games on a Thursday every now and again. But we're also going to be focusing each month on a single game. So the next month is going to be Moon Over, and then maybe we ought to get into the dark, and it could be into the Darkvember or something.
Yeah, got to work on that one. Suggestions in the comments below or on Facebook. What could we link November and Into the Dark with? Staying off was asking who missed that. What game was that? Well, do you mean Underworld we were just talking about? Or something else, Sterling? Dark Side of the Moon. Moonstone. I think that one's going to be a bit of a mouthful.
I'm not sure, Sterling, which you're referring to. We're playing Moonstone and Underworld.
Yep.
And then inevitably we'll get new board games.
And then go, oh my god, this is the thing that will be the big thing.
Our copy of... I meant to email the rep, actually, I forgot today. Our copy of the game by Corvus Belly, Warcrow Adventures, is still somewhere out in the ether. I don't know where that's gone. It's been coming back from America, but it still hasn't arrived. So
it got sent to Red Hill in America, didn't it?
Yeah, it got sent to Red Hill in America, but it hasn't made it back from America. Bring back the Mad Mob. Oh, I'd forgotten about them. Oh, they weren't my choice, but I've forgotten about them.
Oh.
Thing.
I had to go onto Underworld's DB just to look at the different sections of warbands, just to see which ones were the Chaos ones, and it was that point I sort of realised, oh no, Skaven and Chaos. Oh god.
Yeah. And actually, what I've been painting is pretty similar to everything else I've just said, because I've painted all Gorms of Gore chosen up for our games, and I've been painting my Moonstone model. I have to say, I've really loved it this time. I had to do the starter set fairly quickly, but I've been doing these extra new ones that I bought, the Guillemot Poppycock and Old Calders. They were lovely to paint, and you painted yours up as well, didn't you? But yours were lovely too.
Yeah, I was just looking on my shelf, but they're not there because you've got them.
They're here.
Yeah.
They're here. But I'm not very good at putting things up on camera.
Yes, never. Yeah.
There
I
you go.
did like Bristles.
Podcast news. What do you think of that?
That was pretty terrible.
Yeah, that is the best way to view mine and Pete's painting, actually. Yeah, so there you go. So that's what I've been doing. Have you painted anything else, Pete?
No, really. I've Pete, the podcast has got his home, but I've sprayed these up ready to paint, which are the Kroot. ER Kroot. So yeah. I need to get on the old. I need to get on the old building the rest of the scenery and spraying it. I bought a can of spray paint to spray it. That was exciting. You should bring the scenery on Agents Con, and then anybody who's just sitting there with nothing to do can just stick some scenery together for us.
I like it. Or I could just take it. Nobody wants to stay with me. It's fine. I'm just here in the corner. Don't worry about me.
I don't think that's going to be a problem this weekend. I think the problem we're going to have this weekend is actually having enough time to play all the games we want to play.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. I'm looking forward to just drinking tea and eating curry, but I might play the odd game as well. So, at this point in the evening that we normally go on to DW News, although my timing is completely out now because I was late. I don't know where I am. GW have been quite quiet. They've won quite a few community painters paint type posts on the Warhammer community pages, which kind of suggests that there's not much happening.
I wonder if it's just because the Queen snuffed it, so they didn't want to be disrespectful, because obviously that's all got something to do with it.
Possibly. I mean, what? Because she's actually the Emperor.
Yeah, or something. I think it's a load of nonsense. Everything's shut. I just think that's it.
It was one interesting, couple of interesting things. There was a new Siege Battle Time on its way, which I know some of our patrons are playing. I think the Hobby Hermit and maybe one other stuff in the Shadow. If I was going to have a pair of Warp, it was an Army. Just having a quick look at that article. But I can't see that I'm going to go that route. You keep talking about playing AOS, not to me necessarily. I think it was more that
right in front of you.
Yeah, it was more that you're going to play with other people, and I don't like them, so I better start playing. I'll take up your new hobby, dear. It was after we played that game of Moonstone, and we all got a bit head scratchy and remembering all the bonuses. You suddenly just said to me, "Right, I'll just play AOS," and I did sympathise with that theory a little bit.
I do feel like
Stop showing off with your poker chip spinning.
I do feel like sorry, it's a habit. I do feel like when you play those kind of games like MCP and Moonstone, you do almost end up with just as many rules to remember as you do with AOS. It's just that rule then spans over more models than AOS, so it's like a unit of 10 rather than just one bloke or whatever.
I think you might be right, but there is a lot less model moving involved, and generally less measuring.
Yeah, that's true.
I think it's a good thing. Possibly the most interesting piece of news is we've kind of talked about Magic the Gathering before, but the Magic the Gathering 40k cards are going to drop, and I sort of want to play, even though I don't really play Magic the Gathering. I don't really play 40k.
That's like the definition of the do we have too much stuff thing we were talking about the other week. Like, I'm not interested in either element.
Two things combined that I don't play, and now that's interesting. It is very much like that, I suppose. But I think I've always wanted to play both, and maybe this is a way of kind of doing it, because they're not collectible. So I think there's going to be 4 packs, and they've got various factions. I did actually have a look at whatever. So there's going to be
there's Necrons, Marines, Gene Stealer Cult.
I think there's going to be some NIDs, aren't there?
Yeah.
Gene Stealer Cults, yeah, and some Chaos Marines maybe. So I kind of want to play. It's going to be Commander now. Commander, I haven't played Magic the Gathering in about 25, 30 years. I 25 probably. I don't know anything about Commander. I assume that's like just pick up a deck and play with it. But when I had a quick cursory glance, I just picked the stab off here. I'm bleeding. Sorry about that.
Go and get the staff. People let
I'll do that again. It's
too late. You can't cut it out.
Well, I can actually on the podcast. They won't know what we're talking about.
But you won't.
No, I won't. I've got to fill the time somehow. The Commander version of the game, it says it's a multiplayer version, like 3 to 4 players.
Yeah.
Can you play it with 2? That's a question I need to know. People who play Magic the Gathering, can you play Commander with 2? I did find some unofficial Commander rules, and to be honest, if it plays okay with 2, but it's just meant to be fun with, I'll probably get a couple of them and give it a bash.
It's pretty much how we play everything, isn't it? So
probably won't. I see. Sterling just catching up with Sterling's comment from earlier when the audio dropped out. Apparently, I was talking about the Dune Imperium is like Ascension Tactics.
Yeah.
Or Ascension, the board game. It's got a deck building element, so it's an in-game deck builder.
So you have a community deck of cards that everyone can take from.
Yeah.
Cool.
So that's what that was. Going back about 10 minutes. Could be an interesting team-up tournament. What was that one?
That was where if we played a 4-player game, but we each took 2 warbands, and the warbands had to be able to sort of ally with each other. So
okay.
you could have Hexbanes and a Stormcast warband or something, and I could have 2 Skaven warbands or something like that.
Somebody suggested that a 4-player game is the way to play. I'm not entirely sure I agree with that, but it would involve getting more people into the studio. Just generally against that sort of thing.
Just in general, just getting people into the studio. But also, in life, it's so impossible these days to just get 4 adults into the same room. It's just ridiculous.
Even if you pay them, they won't come.
Yeah.
And so, general gaming news. We're rushing along. We're already nearly back on schedule.
Excellent.
I haven't seen much, but I have seen a couple of things. As you know, Pete, I do like to purchase and not play Star Wars games. And
that is true.
There's another one, so it looks absolutely right for the not play, which is a Star Wars themed pandemic game based around the Clone War. So I assume the theme is that the Empire is getting, trying to stop the spread of Imperial wrath or something, or the Separatists, probably. But yeah, look, it's got minis, can't beat Jedi miniatures. So that looks vague. It's probably more my sort of thing than your sort of thing. But it's co-op, so I kind of like the idea of co-op games. I like playing co-op games with the kids. It tends to be slightly less stressful. Not always, but generally less stressful. Although my oldest doesn't like playing co-ops because he likes to win. You can't win a co-op. I had just complete digression there. I had a fascinating conversation with him about role-playing games. Because he just couldn't. I don't know whether he was being deliberately obtuse. He might have been, but he was sort of suggesting that he couldn't get his head round why the GM wouldn't just kill everybody because then he could win. and I think it's because my middle son is now playing at school, and he was talking about his character, and my oldest son was, why wouldn't you just have all the best things to be the best? You know what I mean? Why wouldn't you just take the racial bonuses and the class bonuses or whatever just to make you the best thing possible? And I said, well, there is a bit of that, but at the end of the day, it's about storytelling. And he just
so now you've lost me.
So he does like to win. Yeah, exactly. Anyway, and the other game, which I'm not going to back because I'm on a Kickstarter crowdfunding moratorium now, so I've been stung again by backing something which then cost me as much to pay the game as it did to post it, which is really annoying. So I must be more careful at checking where it's coming from when I've backed it, or just stop. So I'm going to go with the just stop because I'm not careful.
It's safer.
And so, yes, exactly. And I don't need any more games. So I'm going to stop doing that. But there's an Elric-based game, Elric of Melnibone or Melnibone. I don't know. I think I always said Melnibone. Somebody told me what it was. But I'm looking forward to. But it looks kind of interesting. I don't know if everybody's seen that. It's got about a week or so left on Kickstarter. If you are big into your Elric stuff, I haven't read the books. I think even longer ago than when I last played Magic the Gathering. That really is 30 years ago. That's more than 30 years ago. I read the Elric books. So some of them are good, some of them are weird, some of them are shite.
Much like many of the games we're going to talk about tonight. Some are good, some are weird, some are shite.
Yeah. Okay, talking of games, you've neatly segued into the Marlowe moment.
I think you segued into that, but I'm going to play the Marlowe moment now.
Yeah.
Of course, people listening at home won't hear the Marlowe moment tune, and I won't have any clue what we're talking about.
Podcast people or the people at home now?
Podcast
because the people at home now can't hear it. Not what I was fighting playing it.
The people at home can hear it, but yeah.
Right, okay, yeah. But I'm going to get the sound file over and try and post it into the podcast. So they at least get some.
Sneaky.
They might get it.
So what you're saying is you need me to pull out the
So
audio.
the Marlowe moment, this one, I've picked a game and it's kind of relevant, but not very. Which game or games do you think everyone should play at least once?
Ooh.
And we're talking about board games.
Just board games, any old board games.
Nothing to do with our partners.
Well, that's a good one. I wonder what people in the chat might say as to what games they think people should play at least once. But for me, it's tricky because there's so many little games out there that I think work well in a family setting. So I would go for a quick... I think if I was to pick a family game, I would say something like Sushi Go or something like that, or Seven Wonders or something like that.
Well, you stolen my thunder there, because Seven Wonders is the game I was going to suggest that everybody should play. Because that is like, I think it's a very good game to play if you're playing with people who don't really go beyond the standard toy shop board games.
Yeah.
I think it's quite a good one. It's interesting, it's fun, and I think you can't. Although I said earlier, you always listen to somebody who knows what they're doing. I don't think you can actually. I kind of agree with what you said. I don't think you can get that good at it, because it's kind of like any one strategy might work. Richard Stingley might not if somebody else picks a different one. So I kind of quite like that Matthews said Cluedo. I totally disagree with.
And Sterling Northam's just said grab a plaster, so I think Sterling, now you might be about 10 minutes behind the stream right now, but of course you're not going to hear this for another 10 minutes, so sorry for that.
Yeah.
But,
it's stopped now. It's stopped now.
Who would want to see your bloody stump on the webcam? I think to not steal yours,
Stump.
to not steal yours, I'll change mine from because pretty much you got me into Seven Wonders, so I'll change mine to something like Exploding Kittens, because that's a fantastic little game. It doesn't take very long. It's not very serious, but it's always a good laugh whenever you play it.
Yeah, fair enough. I don't actually like Exploding Kittens that much, but I think that's just because I'm a snob. Because actually every time I played it, I've quite enjoyed it. I don't want to enjoy it. Because I don't know, it just frustrates me that. But it is quite entertaining.
I do like the cards as well.
Blue Moon, somebody said. Sorry, go on, Pete, I interrupted you.
I always, the guy who did Exploding Kittens and all the other games, the Oatmeal, I've always liked his website, all the stuff he's done on there, I've always enjoyed that and I found it very entertaining, so yeah, I've got a soft spot for those kind of games that he does.
Yeah.
So, Face It has just hello. Face It says Seven Wonders and Splendor is excellent. He says.
Yeah, I played Splendor for the first time about a month or so ago, and I really enjoyed it. It's really good. I was trying to find it because it was cheap over here in game, but I haven't been able to find it to play. Seven Wonders is crazy cheap. If you haven't played Seven Wonders, it's crazy cheap in game at the moment, or it was last week. It's like 15 quid or something. I mean, that is just, even if you only play it twice.
Yeah.
It's good value for money.
That's why I bought it pretty much, because you mentioned it was on cheap, so I was like, right, I'll have that then. And I bought the 2-player card game version, though I didn't realise it was 2-player at the time. So I'll have to bring that along with play on the channel. Yeah, I was thinking we'll play on the channel at some point.
Yeah.
But it's very funky.
It faces it, and it has poker chips. It does have poker chips. That's very true.
Do you like a poker chip?
Yeah.
Do you like a poker chip?
So that was our and now you have a Marvel version.
Ooh.
I've seen that. Oh no, I think I have seen that. Is it any good though? How does it compare? I feel like I did read how it was different, and now I've forgotten now.
That doesn't sound like you at all, Robbie.
What, forgetting stuff? Reading it and then forgetting. Yeah. Well, I haven't played it, but Splendor I enjoy. It's a kind of engine builder, so it's fun and very easy to get into.
As always, if you're listening and enjoying this chat, don't forget to give us a thumbs up as we're going along this evening. Yeah. And if you've got any comments, do chuck them in the chat so we can answer them.
I'm going to give us a thumb up as well.
Lovely people.
Any one of you lovely people. This is very lovely. So thank you for joining in.
What are we on to now then?
So that's the Milo moment out of the way. What happened to the table? We've taken our Milo moment. So that means we can get on to our main focus for the evening. Which we have definitely caught up, because we're actually now 3 minutes ahead of schedule and we started about 10 minutes late. So maybe we'll go on for another 10 minutes afterwards, or maybe remote, depending on
no, we probably
how we
will
get
just
on.
keep going. We do like a ramble.
We do like a ramble. So this is, it's not like about which GW games can you get, although there's a bit of that, I'm sure. But certainly in the last few years, Games Workshop have, certainly said in the comments, they've kind of released a few interesting, and some might say some of their best games, through places like Game in the UK or Barnes & Noble, GameSpot. And some of the games are great, Some of them are less good, but some of them are great. But I think we were just sort of going to want to discuss whether you think and we think whether they should do more of them, whether they should support them more. Yes, they should. And what you'd like to see from a small game.
And also, you know, what is a small game really? What are we classing as a small game, and are there exceptions to that rule and stuff like that? No.
I've got to see behind your head there. Is Aeronautica Imperialis a small game?
Is that a small game? Sort of, I'd say, but not 100% sure.
Well, I think it is in a Games Workshop way. You can just play it out the box.
Yeah.
It does kind of invite buying extra planes. You can buy extra planes, but I think it fits the GW mold as a small box game in the sense that they've released it, and then they don't really promote it at all.
And there's not much. There's no scenery as well, so.
Yeah, I mean, it's got a lot. I think it's got a lot going for it in Oscar. But yeah, and that I suppose what I just said there is kind of the crux of my problem with these GW small games. They've got some really good games, I think. Blitz Bowl, I know we love. Lots of us love Blitz Bowl.
Yeah.
Morph, talking to you. Fire Team, the Fire Team. I really enjoyed having John repeatedly smash my face on the table last time we played. That was good. And Bladeboard. Bladeboard, I think, is my favourite.
Well, that answers the question we were asked earlier, which is what would you rather play, Bladeborn or Fire Team? So that answers that one for you.
I would definitely rather play Blade. Well, I say definitely. I would rather play Blade, I think. But I wonder whether Fire Team, if I played it a bit more, might have a bit more longevity. I think there's more difference in the warbands or the Fire Team.
Yeah, I think you're right. I'm on the fence as to which one I'd rather play. I think I'd like to play more games of fighting with the other types of fire teams you can get to come up with an idea of that, because we played with all of the Underworld's warbands because we had them all, so that was easy. So yeah. Yeah,
so I don't really understand, and maybe one of the 90 people watching is a GW Design Studio employee. Probably not. But I don't really understand why GW don't support that game more and put it not front and centre, but put it as a beginner. Because particularly Fire Team, it almost leads directly into Kill Team. It kind of like if you can play Fire Team, you
can dodge a ball. Sorry.
It's a step on the way to the bigger game, isn't it?
Yeah.
See whether you want to play it. But it was released in the UK, which is a step up from Blitz Bowl.
Yeah.
But it's frustrating. It frustrates me that you can't. It's kind of like it was released through a game. It wasn't that available, and now you just can't get it. I don't think.
Yeah, I think that it was a limit. It feels like it was a limited run because it doesn't seem to be coming back in stock anywhere.
No, and it just seems mad to me because they've got the models already, and they could just make more of it. And I think people would buy it, and I think people who love Kill Team would buy it and play it. And as we've talked before, it's a perfect game for people who are busy.
Yeah.
And that's it. Pretty much everybody over the age of 25. So
I think Fire Team and Bladeborn you could actually feasibly play in a lunch hour. You could play those games quickly in a short period of time. Even Blitzball I think is longer to play than Fire Team and Bladeborn. But I think Fire Team and Bladeborn you could play in almost 30 minutes, even including setup time. You could play that pretty bloody quick. Fire Team has more activations, so that takes a bit longer. But I still think I'd rather than play faster than Blitzball. But even Blitzball doesn't take that long once you know what you're up to.
No, it doesn't. I think you're right. It is because Fire Team starts off it's quite slow, but once all your Necrons have been pulverised, it's much quicker.
Not bitter at all, though.
It definitely speeds up because you natural wastage just means you've got less fighters, so you end up with half the turns if you've only got one model left, because you can only do one action with it.
Yeah, that's true.
Each whatever they call them, I don't know what they're called.
Activations? Because they're activation points or something, aren't they?
Yes, it is. I think it is activation, isn't it? Yeah.
Sterling Norton says that he thinks they should put the dice mechanic into Fireteam that's in Bladeborn. I'm assuming it means the initiative thing where you roll the dice at the start. I mean, I like that, but I think that's more a Warcry, Fireteam-y type thing, and I like what they've got going in Kill Team. And in fact, you said at the start of this that, you know, if you play Fireteam, that leads you quite neatly into playing the bigger game Kill Team. I think Bladeborn does for for Warcry as well. That gives you a lot of the basic mechanics there as well.
It does, and it frustrates me a little bit that they don't put. And people might say, "Well, you wouldn't want to do this," but I don't know why. That frustrates me is the wrong word, but I don't understand what the thinking is not putting Fireteam cards in the boxes of the miniatures that you can buy. So they've got the new, I'm pointing out the box, but they've got various new kill teams that have come out for Kill Team, and you could, if you had the Fireteam cards in there, you could then play Fireteam with them. And then you've got people who like Fireteam but haven't got time to play Kill Team or haven't got the inclination to play Kill Team, might actually buy the new model. So they would buy the new Navy, whatever they're called, Navy people, or Fruit, or whatever, and it would be, you know, a way of generating sales from images. I mean, more suggested making PDF cards, that would be good too.
Yeah.
I can maybe see why they don't do that. Well, maybe not. I mean, they could do that. If you like the look of the Crute in Fireteam, you go out and buy some Crute that you want otherwise. So, you know.
Well, they could even just release it as a small booklet that you could then, like they've done with Warcry, and you can buy the book that's got all of the warbands in it, absolutely loads of them in there. So you could do a similar thing for the Fireteam and stuff like that.
Yeah. I remember even if they only did like one at a time, at least then they could see why they don't want to convert everything. A bit like Underworld, but I can see why they don't want to convert all 50 warbands into whatever that game is, Bladeborn. But they could do another half dozen would make the game interesting. Would give you more variation. They could do. There aren't many Chaos warbands, are there?
No.
They could do, or they could even do the actual Warcry warband, the Chaos Warcry warband.
Yeah. So they could go either way with that, really.
The Splintered Fang and the whatever, the various, because that probably might push
over the edge.
To buy, or us certainly, on the channel. Sorry? Over the edge. Yeah. They might push me to buy some of the warbands. Some of the warbands I quite like the models of, but because we don't play Warcry, there isn't any point in picking them up.
No.
But I would definitely think about buying some. I'm not saying 100% would, but I think it frustrates me that they have these products and then they don't do anything with them. So then the next time a similar product comes out, you just think, well, what's the point in getting that or getting into them? Because, you know, nobody else will play it because nobody else will have been funding it. And it'll be forgotten about almost immediately.
Yeah, and it must take them some effort, right, to knock these games out. There's the artwork, there's the game mechanics themselves. Even though they're cut down and simplified versions of bigger games, it still takes effort to do that. So you've gone through all of that effort. Surely adding in more warbands or whatever is very little extra effort to continue keeping a game that could be very popular, you know, out there. And yeah, it's just madness to me that they don't.
Yeah, I mean, as Beth Lavina said, all Underworld releases should have Bladeborn PDF release too. Yeah, they should. I mean, I don't think it would be that difficult for them to do that. I mean, I appreciate there is some design work and play testing that needs to be done. Otherwise, if you release them, then people moan that they're, you know, if they're not balanced, then people moan. I do kind of understand there is an overhead associated with it.
Yeah.
But I think it could potentially generate sales. If it can only generate sales if you have Bladeborn available to buy. You know, there's no point, to a degree, there's no point in doing it now because you're not going to generate very many more sales. But if you could buy Bladeborn, like you could buy the other games, then people will think, well, actually, yeah, that looks fun. I'd like to play this. I mean, Hexbanes versus some undead in the Bladeborn would be quite
That'd be pretty cool.
thematically exciting and interesting thing to play, or even against the Chaos Warfare, would be an interesting thing to play.
I wonder, because the thing I can't work out is Blitzball is on its third iteration now, and has changed very little in its latest iteration other than the addition of about 6 or 7 teams and a slight alteration to the rules and the way it's all laid out. That's it. So how has Blitzball warranted that much extra attention over every other small box game that GW has done? They haven't done that with any other game. Blitzball is on its third edition now, though. Why is that?
I think it's because it's American footballish, and the main market for these games seems to be America.
I mean, maybe it's just because
Completely thinking it out of the top of my head. It's kind of it is American football with fighting, essentially, isn't it?
yeah, basically. I mean, could be classed as American football. You don't have to specify the fighting part. Yeah, I think. I mean, if you say it's sorry.
Somebody said Space Marine Adventures has 2 editions. That's true, it does.
But that's Space Marines, right? That's GW's bread and butter as well. So anything that they can put that has Space Marines, they're going to go for. Yeah. I mean, you could say it's because Blood Bowl is popular, but then I mean, fire teams based on Kill Team. Kill Team's really popular because it's one of their main games, and the same can be said for Warcry with Bladeborn. So yeah, it's weird, really.
Rawk says he thinks part of the problem is GW only see them as Bladeborn and fighting as gateways to the larger games. That is true, and they don't want to expand them. Yeah, I can sort of see that, but then I don't really understand why you wouldn't keep the gate open. If you know what I mean. I mean, but this is the thing. This is a business decision that I don't really understand how. This is because I like it. Business.
I wonder if
Blitz. We should do it.
I wonder if Blitz Bowl, because it's tied in with like Barnes and Noble and stuff, whether there's an agreement there that they're going to be releasing new iterations of it every so long for a certain period of time, maybe.
Maybe. More so, the online community is big and growing. It's interesting. When I don't move in those circles, I don't know. Seth Levine brained a fucking podcast. Is that a Blood Bowl podcast?
Yeah, some of the guys who did Blitz Bowl had a. I don't know if it's Blitz Bowl and Blood Bowl or just Blitz Bowl or whether it was just Blood Bowl, but they started talking about Blitz Bowl. They were involved because they actually get a shout out in the latest game in the rules. So
in the Blitz Bowl.
Yeah,
in the Blitz Bowl.
In the third version. In Blitz Bowl.
I mean,
in fact, I'm pretty sure it has the crush printed on the pitch in the artwork. So
okay.
It's pretty cool.
Wow, okay. I almost feel like GW rely on, for the whole of the bowl in their game, they do rely on the online community or the gameplay community to do it. Because even Blood Bowl, I know they bring out the old miniature and things, but I don't really feel like it's not a game I think, I don't like it. This is my, but I don't really feel like it's a game GW love, or even really tend to that much.
GB and Morph both confirmed that the crush was just Blitz Bowl. How the frick can
GB you... said Blitz Owl, which Blitz Owl would be a brilliant game. I want to play that now.
I can't work out how the crap you can make a podcast about a game like Blitz Bowl. I can't think of more than one episode of stuff to talk about. You've got to really friggin' love a game like that to be able to create an entire podcast on it. Morph says he thinks some of the changes they made are shit. So it'd be interesting to think what things you don't like. It's because maybe it's a bit less random because you had the end game challenges and you had the one which would change the ends of the pitch, and that's not there in the latest version anymore. So
that was very exciting.
I think somebody said online, I remember reading comments which basically said, because somebody, should I get the Ultimate Edition? Should I, I can get the second edition now, but do I hold out for the Ultimate Edition or whatever? And someone basically said, if you want a more fun, wacky, crazy game, go for the second edition. If you want something that's a bit more stable and balanced and, a bit more skill invested, then go for the Ultimate Edition. So, yeah, take that with a pinch of
salt. There's room for both, I suppose.
Yeah.
There's room for both. Tone down lots of the random fun, because I interesting, I think, for almost like another topic of conversation for the podcast, but I kind of feel like there's a definitely strong element in the GW community, although all these games are based on dice and things, who really don't like luck. And the whole way to win games is to eliminate the luck. So maybe that's why they've tended that way. If they want to play a bit more competitively, I don't know. I don't know anything about them, so I'm possibly talking out of my bottom there. But it kind of feels like that may be something to do with it. I'm not a competitive player, so I prefer random fun. Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things. Random fun is good, and it can be really good, but sometimes it can be frustrating if it just doesn't spoil the game. But if it's random, too random, or random in the wrong way at the wrong time, sometimes it can be annoying.
Yeah, it can be annoying if you're the person who's about to win, and then suddenly your opponent, through no skill or ability, just suddenly wins. Sometimes that's not a bad thing, and you can just have a laugh and move on. Sometimes that can really piss you off.
Yeah. I mean, in Blitz Bowl, I think by the time you've got to that stage, it's been so silly up to then, it doesn't seem to matter. I can't remember which of us the end changed for when we played, but it was very funny.
It all went crazy because we had 3 or 4 balls on the pitch, and there was all kinds of nonsense going on. So it was good fun.
Got some more comments.
Sorry, we missed one earlier. War Machine asked, do we think that GW sometimes come in for unfair criticism when they do not open up small standalone games or one-off games to further expansions, especially when you think of how many standalone games there are in the market and are popular and do not get criticised by board game players who sometimes thinks we're spoiled by GW? That is definitely an aspect of it because GW is so big.
Yeah, I had exactly that thought today, actually. When I was thinking about what we were going to talk about tonight, I did think I don't expect Seven Wonders people to make more Seven Wonders.
Yeah, that's true. 9 Wonders, but 2 extra Wonder expansion.
But I think there are expansions that have extra Wonders. But I think it's because most other games don't continue to make the same components that could be compatible with that game, if that makes sense. So GW have carried on making kill teams. And therefore, and that to me, and this could be wrong, but that to me is the bulk of the work. The bulk of the work for their games is the miniatures, the designing of the miniatures. And so they could, it feels to me like without too much extra work, they could add in an extra rule. Now, I do, as I said earlier, I do realise there's an element of, there's probably more overhead than I realise in the playtesting and balancing of that. But I kind of feel that's why it is. So it perhaps is unfair, but I suppose they are continually making, for pretty much all of the small box games we talked about, they're continually making components which could be used in the game, and they're choosing not to.
It's not like you've got a game producer who does a bunch of games, like you say, that produces loads of stuff that's very similar to the game they just released, but it's not in it. And then you turn around to you sort of... It's a bit like if people who create chess created a new game that had pieces that looked almost like chess pieces and behaved almost like chess pieces, and people said, well, can we have those in chess as well? And they were like, no. Why not? It's literally almost there. You've just got to change a few things. Like, no, we're not doing that now. So it's a bit like that. You know, I think we're unfair on GW, and we're only unfair because we just want more stuff from them. You know, we're literally just begging to give them money. But I feel like it's kind of valid because they do have all this stuff that looks and is so very similar to it. It's like you're almost there, just that last little nudge, and that's all it needs.
Not more shit from the community over rules and minis. Maybe it's just a simple cost-benefit analysis. That actually Morph is a very good point, I think. That is, yeah. And I think it's much easier. It's not easier, but it's, the miniature is the miniature, and you either like it or you don't. And the miniatures will stay the miniatures no matter what new miniatures come out. Whereas rules, it's a never-ending, ever-shifting stands of which you're playing on, because the rule, change one rule and it might change other things. So that's a really good point. It's much easier. It's much easier on one level to make miniatures.
Yeah. We missed a question.
I suppose I would also play. I wouldn't necessarily frame it as criticising, maybe it's come across a bit like that, but it's almost like asking the question, why don't they do it?
Yeah.
Just do it, if that makes sense.
Especially seeing as we're the ones who want to buy it, so it's just like we're just asking why you don't want us to give you more of our money.
Yeah, absolutely.
We missed Yeah, go on. After you were about to read it. No, I possibly couldn't now.
Watched it for a long time. You haven't watched it for a long time now. Boo.
Boo.
What do you guys think about Underworld now? I feel like he doesn't have the energy to look everything up with the FAQ and the new keyword like brawl. I'm kind of with you on that. I think that is why we have ended up shifting to rivals, where it doesn't come up so much.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter quite so much if you screw it up or don't quite get it right. I agree with you on that. And particularly where they've added, so it's not so much the keyword itself, but where they, I actually really think about it, whether we're going to do it or not. It may not be an issue actually because we're playing wrong again. They've obviously added keywords for certain fighters for the older war bands.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, I really can't be bothered to go what they are for when we're playing. I guess they might be some one point Underworld DB was updated. I had updated.
It was, yeah.
On there. But because actually, fair enough, when you play Garage, you actually used digital cards, didn't you? Because they were in the house. I couldn't bother to go and get them.
Although one of them didn't. One of them had the one which gives you +1 damage if you roll a crit. That was on his old card as well. That wasn't something they'd added afterwards. Right. It was just before they'd made that a more generic ability. Grievous.
Formalised it.
Yeah. So
I think that's definitely a thing. And I think, and we've talked about this before in previous podcasts and things, so I won't go on about it again, but I think that's why, for me, they need to cut free the first 2 or even 3 seasons before they really started to formalise everything. And I think going back and updating the old cards, actually, although it was quite nice and kind of showed that they were invested in the game, I almost feel like it was a mistake to do that. Because I feel like it's be better if people put those behind them and kind of look forward.
Yeah, so it depends on how, I mean, based on what you said, Elrom, I think that if you're looking to play the game in a casual setting, Rivals Plus maybe, or a championship version where you're not too het up on getting everything right, you're okay. But I don't think the competitive version's as fun now because of that. I think, personally, if they didn't release a new extra special rule, generic special rule like staggered or whatever, if they didn't do that ever again, I'd be quite happy with the game as it is right now. I think it's a really good version.
Yeah.
I think it's in a solid place.
I think it is.
But it doesn't need anything else added to it.
I would go along with that, actually. I think it doesn't need a new little riddle. And I guess we're probably going to get new starting hex riddle,
Yeah.
Gloom hex riddle.
Yeah, it won't be Gloom hexes, it'll be something else as lethal hexes. So.
Quite funny, we're kind of talking about them not making rules for the games they war anyway. They also make rules that they don't need for the games that they have.
Yeah.
So.
Morph says he doesn't like the addition of fouling and big guys to Blitz Bowl. He thinks it's going to be a bit wonky. He's not a fan of them adding stuff to Blitz Bowl just because Blood Bowl has it, which is true. It's just that kind of thing that some people will think a game's just perfect as it is. Don't change it, don't touch it. Just give us new war bands or kill teams or whatever. Leave the rules as they are. Yeah, it's a tricky one.
Not a fan of them adding stuff to Blitz Bowl just because Blood Bowl has it. Yeah, I go along with that. That frustrated me a bit with Warcry. Was it Warcry? They kind of brought out big monsters to add to Warcry. So I'm like, that's not what it's about. It's a warband game.
Yeah. They turned it into a skirmish AOS type thing.
Blitz Bowl doesn't need big monsters because it's meant to be light, fun, quick, and like you say, it's really about just slinging dice and enjoying yourself. Yeah.
Sterling had a lovely suggestion. He says maybe we get everyone that watches and us to could set up a website that would be for that would support these games, and we could all work together and come up with new cards and put them up. I mean, if the 3 of us can get together, we could probably sort that out. I said there's 23 people watching right now, so thank you everybody who's watching, and
That would be
don't forget
lovely, but it would be far too much work.
yeah. Plus, I'm kind of the
that is part of the thing.
I'm the kind of person that if somebody says, "Oh, I've created some rules for vampires in Bladeborn," I'll be like, I don't really want to play somebody else's rules. If GW came along with exactly the same set of rules and said, "We come up with rules of vampires," I'd be like, "Awesome, playing those." It's just something about it having to come from GW, and then I'm like, "Oh, that's official."
I know what you mean. It's kind of. It's only the officialness and almost the appearance, although actually in reality it probably isn't the case.
Yeah.
It's had some due diligence stuff in it.
Yeah.
And and it might actually work. Whereas I think and actually, probably the fan-made content is probably actually better.
Yeah, because they actually care.
Or has a chance of being better. I know I have not played any, but there's a guy who basically creates his own Lord of the Rings card game stuff. It's called a Long Expected Party. He's got a whole host of expansions because they haven't made new cards for the living card game. We're all doing living card games for 5 or 6 years now, I think. And he's basically made up his own. And he commissions art for them as well.
Yeah.
And people buy them off him and they get them printed.
I mean, that's impressive.
That
I don't think I love any game that much.
And they're apparently brilliant. But and I look at them and say, I should buy those. It's like, no, Robin, you shouldn't buy those because you don't pay the expansions you've already got.
There are 26 people watching. Love to all of you. Thank you for joining us this evening. Don't forget to give us a thumbs up if you're enjoying it, and like, subscribe, ring that bell, and all that good stuff. Anyway, back to it for all those podcast listeners who are sitting there going, I can't hit subscribe, you moron. What else have we got in the chat? So Morph says that he'd be interested to see what James thinks. He's sure there were some reasons he didn't include them in the first edition to do big guys and that kind of stuff. And he does point out that having big guys and stuff spoils the whole half a box of models, half a team, gives you a Blitzball team, which is true. And I'm not sure I like the idea of that either. Tom D says, thanks for another great show, guys. Thank you, Tom, for joining us.
Is it because GW are moving? They feel like they've only got a finite number of teams. They seem to bring out more big models. Every time I see a Blood Bowl on it, there's normally a new biggish model, like the Burke and Stricter thing recently for the Lustrier team. I wonder whether that's it, whether they want to keep feeding in their new big models.
I think it is. I mean, they're always liking to get star players and big guys into Blitz Bowl or Blood Bowl because it adds another dimension to it. But I've never really enjoyed that because I always find they end up being very polar. A bit like Mollog, they can be quite polarizing. If you have a Rat Ogre and that Rat Ogre manages to do the thing you want it to do, it can just rip an opponent's team apart, for example. But if it doesn't do what you need it to do, you spent a huge chunk of your team's resources in getting that thing, and then it does nothing, and so therefore it just makes the game more of a gamble.
Absolutely. Bernard said, as much as Underworlds would really benefit from a set of cards that bring the old warbands into line, it would never happen because they're not available anymore and they never look backwards. That's absolutely right. Yeah, except they almost did like a half and half, where they did update them in the FAQ in ways that nobody was expecting or particularly wanted. So it's a curious thing.
It is very strange.
Yeah.
I mean, I just think that GW could make a large amount of fairly easy money if they expanded on games like Bladeborn and Fireteam and stuff like that. And without things like Underworlds, they just need to concentrate on getting out more teams now. I think more warbands to expand the game. And they possibly don't even need to worry about creating new warbands as much as use other warbands they already have. So, like we said, from Warcry, they could bring in some of the Warcry warbands into it. You'll have 6 of the models that you would get in a Warcry box, and they would then be a game in there or something like that. So warband in there. Sorry, talking nonsense. No, but yeah, they could pull in other stuff like that, I think.
Yeah, I wonder, going back to Imperialis as well. It's not just. I don't know why they don't support that more. They don't even need more planes. They could just talk about it on Warhammer Community a little bit more than than they do. I mean, they've bought out the Horus Heresy book recently, and I know that had some people grumbling a little bit about it, but they didn't really. They just said, "Here's the book, off you go," and I think it sold out quite quickly. But they could keep making that and then tie it in and make it an interesting game. And I know it's not a small box game, but Titanicus feels a bit like the Safe. Kind of like, again, it feels like a massive missed opportunity. But maybe they just haven't got the resources.
Could be.
They've only got so many employees.
Face It says that these games are great for introducing some of his board gaming friends to skirmish wargaming. That is true, although some of us, like Robin and I, would rather play these over skirmish wargaming because we haven't got the time or the inclination to do all the scenery and stuff that we would need for the skirmish wargaming.
I think I'd get bogged down in skirmish wargaming. Like this Moonstone game we had, I enjoyed it, but it did make my brain hurt. Whereas a game of Bladeborn, I didn't feel that my brain hurt.
There was only so much you could do. It's like the minute you add hexes and a board, you're confined and you feel safe because there's only so many options out there. But the minute there's no board and there's no walls and you're out in the middle of nowhere, it's a bit like getting dumped into your first game of D&D and you're just like, what can I do? We can do anything. I don't know what to do. And just panic sets in.
You do what you like, it's a blank piece of paper.
Yeah. When people, if you're new to role playing and someone says, "Okay, here's your character, tell me your story," and they're just like, what? What's that mean?"
I work in an office.
I hate my job. I've got a wife and 2 kids.
I live in a small suburban house.
I've often wanted to create like a modern day role play game with some kind of unbelievable setting, like maybe it's the zombie apocalypse or something like that. There's probably games out there that do this kind of thing already, but you have to set your character up before the actual zombie apocalypse hits. So at some point during your role-playing adventure, like, the zombie apocalypse would happen, but you've got to go for a period of time to just role-playing, like being at work or doing the housework and stuff like that.
What you could do, you can make it live role-playing, just get people around to clean your house.
What? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you finished the dishwashing, excellent. That's 5 experience points. Lovely.
Painting, it's elementary painting this week. You've got 2 hours to paint this room. Brilliant.
And some of it comes down to setup as well. Because sorry, go on.
No, I've got you. You.
I was just going to say, some of it comes down to just the amount of time it takes to set up skirmish games, because you've got to put all the scenery and stuff out, and that in itself is a task and a chore. You're like, have I got it set up? Does it thematically look good? Does it, is it equal? Is it fair? Is it going to give us a good game as well?
Yeah, I find the stress of exactly that. Stress of, is it going to give us a good game, and is it fair? I almost found it almost unbearable.
Yeah,
because you just don't know. And sometimes, I'm sure we've had the odd game where you only realise partway through the game that the scenery depth is awful, and like particularly in games, 40k style games, where there's lines of sight and what have you. Basically you've just put a killing ground up that you're just one poor bastard is trying to march through, while the other person just guns him down. You don't know that until you you start playing it.
Seth asks, "Do we like the Underworld's terrain?" There we go.
Well, I have a very short answer. No, I think it's pretty shit.
I didn't mind it. I think I preferred the second set of stuff that came out to the first set, and I didn't mind having some stuff on the table on the board that gave a little bit of 3D. It was kind of a little bit like playing AOS, but without it mattering too much, because you didn't have. It didn't give you high ground or any of that kind of stuff, so it didn't impact the game at all. It just gave you that slightly 3D element, but it quickly didn't look like it fitted in.
Exactly. I mean, it didn't offend me, but there was, there was at least one piece that didn't fit on the board, or there were markings on the board that you couldn't put the pieces of scenery into. I seem to remember. And what's interesting that somebody made us beautiful hexes for objective hexes, which we now can't really use because of the gloom hex situation.
Yeah.
But they were, and obviously they're better because they were handmade and they were made for us. But actually, if GW had done post scenery objectives that you could stand the miniatures on, I think that would have been cooler than the random bits of plastic that they did do.
And the random bits of plastic that you didn't necessarily get enough of, or you got too much of, because I think when they first released the second Beastgrave set, there were no 2-hex cover tiles, so you couldn't actually use one of the pieces at all with some of the boards. So you're like, well, that's pointless.
Beastgrave terrain is greater than Nightmare terrain. I don't find particularly useful. But what I did see, somebody had built, and I think it was maybe they took it to Bugman's or to a Clash or something. They had built scenery that fitted around the board.
Yeah.
To give it walls. It was like an arena. So it was a bit more like the Warhammer Underworld Online theory, which is pretty dope.
I've seen a few people did that. There was a channel called Mini Fight Club, I think it was. They only did about 3 videos, but they were amazing videos, and they had that scenery set up around the edge, and that looked pretty nice.
I suppose it makes it a bit more arena-ish.
Yeah.
Like when there was that massive craze for doing the Playmobil arena for Warcry.
That was brilliant.
Absolutely great. Absolutely great. But I like that. That looks quite good. But the actual official thing, I could take or leave. But I don't really like. I think I've talked about this before. I don't really like add-on sales things. So I don't get me started on dice. So I think I generally would avoid it. And I think we ended up with some because I think we did buy some. I think because we wanted the channel to make it look good, but then we got some more when they did that big overstock giveaway thing they did. The cheap thing, we ended up with some more.
Faceit says that he agreed with earlier comments. He thinks non-wargaming people are intimidated when they see dice, tape measures and scenery. Morph said that he's not sure that intimidate is the right word, and Faceit said that daunted, which I think Morph agreed with more. I do think intimidate is a very accurate word, and I get that kind of feeling whenever I sit down for a game. I think we had it with that one, you mentioned it earlier, where you've got the community cards and stuff, Ascension Tactics. I find when I sit down, if there's a game and there's about 7 piles of cards, the Lord of the Rings one actually was a good example of that when we played that, and there was about 7 different stacks of cards. I was like, whoa, I'm as nerd as the next person, but what the hell is going on here? This is a whole new level of nerd. There's, there was so many decks, and I think intimidate is a very accurate word for that kind of feeling a lot of people get.
Yeah, it is terrifying, and I've got some. I've never opened a book and look at it. It's terrifying. It's the Buffle. I know the Alpha Strike is easy to play, but it just looks too scary to even start to try and play.
Yeah. Nothing is more terrifying than stepping into a room where your friend is with 5 of his friends sitting around a table with multiple books, strange shaped dice, pencils and open packets of crisps sitting around going, do you want to join our game of roleplay? That's going to scare most people off.
Getting asked to roleplay with you is pretty scary.
Zach Matthews says that he thinks that Aeronautica is a pretty decent board game. Then Forge World released a set of rules that converts it into a tabletop distance measuring game. I don't even remember that. When did they do that? I missed that.
I thought it had gone the other way, actually. I thought the Forge World original game didn't have hexes, but I don't know enough about it.
That's correct. The original Forge World game didn't have hexes. The newer GW version did, but I don't know if there's something since then the Forge World have released that turns it into a measuring game. Maybe there is. Dylan says that if there's free food, he's game. That's the way to approach things.
Brilliant. So, kind of getting towards the end, I think we actually... Underworlds, we talked about this off camera, Underworlds is kind of like a full box game that they do support, and it has waned in popularity, but I think they're back on the right track now. They've brought out quick and easy ways to play, and I know not everybody likes rivals, but I think there's a vocal minority who don't particularly like one. But I think there's an increasing groundswell of people that actually like Rivals, because they can just pick it up and play. They don't have to buy everything. They can just buy Hexbane if they want, and not Rom, because they don't like the look of him or they don't want to play Corn or whatever, and they can get the next warband that's going to come along, or they can buy a deck of cards if they the Rivals deck of cards if they like the look of it, or it fits with their favourite warband. And I think that is a way to keep what I was called a small box game going.
Yeah.
Without, whereas previous pre-Rivals, I wouldn't have said Underworlds was a small box game, because you'd have to, even though it only came in a small box, you had to buy all the other 8 boxes to keep it going.
Yeah.
So it was just a small box game in lots and lots of boxes, or a big box game, lots and lots of boxes. But now I genuinely think you could call it a supported small box game. Small box game, but it does feel like that. You could buy a core set and just buy the occasional upgrade that you wanted, which is kind of what we were saying we'd like for Fireteam.
Yeah.
And got a Fireteam box. If I want to get the fruit, then we're nice to get the cards and play with that. That's kind of how Underworld works, and I think that model can work. I don't know how. I think people play at home. We get quite a lot of people sort of saying, "I've just started playing," or I like playing Rivals on our comments. I know they're a bit of a weird fact, but I think there's a quite mass of people who enjoy playing it that way.
I definitely think so. And if you look at the if we're going to go to small box games from GW, we've got to look at the originators of this stuff. The original Blood Bowl, which had standees, not even models, Space Crusade, Hero Quest, Battle Masters. These were all technically small box games because they didn't have a need to purchase extra stuff, although things like Hero Quest and Space Crusade then did go on and produce expansions that you could buy for it if you wanted to add extra elements. There was the Wizard expansion for Hero Quest. There was the Android attack version, which had Dreadnoughts and Necrons in it. Basically, they were Necrons, but Chaos Androids for Space Crusade. There was the Eldari version for Space Crusade as well, which gave you an Eldar expansion. Those were the original games, and maybe they haven't aged too well, but they stood the test of time for a long time. I think lots of people still know and love those games, and they could be doing that now with things like Fireteam and with Bladeborn. They could still be expanding it and coming out with just these extra warbands, that kind of thing, and they could be making a lot of money out of this still.
I reckon they could still make a brilliant Battle Masters game.
Absolutely.
I have to say. I mean, I of all the projects and things we've talked about, the thing I most want to do but won't is build a new Battle Masters version, probably smaller scale, but very similar mechanics. Especially having played games like Undaunted, I think you could make a really good game that used the Battle Masters model, but with some more up-to-date rules. I reckon it could be really good games. I completely forgot to put in the news that I looked up. Tabletop Gaming Live had their awards this week and this weekend, and the Stargrave and Oathmark won Best Skirmish and Best Tabletop Game, both by Joseph McCulloch, who we've talked about before. I meant to put it in the news. I meant to look up all the winners were, and I forgot that. That was a bit of news. I actually just remembered it there while we were talking about skirmish games and new rules. I think GW could do is employ a few new rules writers sometimes.
I think GW need to get away from D6 in the same reliance that they currently have. Everything for GW has to be a D6 for the most part. Yeah. And it's like...
I think they don't have to, but they just... I don't know.
No, I think GW think they do. It seems like GW's design principle is if it's not a D6, it's not going out type thing. Yeah. They have a few, I think, Blackstone Fortress had a D20 and a D8 and a D10 in it, but they were very underutilised and they don't generally use them very much.
I think that's okay. I mean, I know obviously it does do things to your distribution away, but I think it's okay to only use D6. But there are definitely other mechanics they could use that could improve things. I think Sterling's talking about the old Fantasy Flight games. Stuff. And funny enough, again, I was thinking about that again, thinking about what I was talking about. They had a few really good games. They had a living card game for Warhammer Quest I've got here. I probably can't see it, there you can't. But I brought that out to maybe play one day. but it was stopped when GJ was deploying the license. There was still this chaos in the old world. It must be really good. I think it was designed by Eric Lang, who did want to do Blood something, and the Viking type game, which is good. And I don't know. I'm guessing we'll never see those again, because I'm guessing the ownership of the rules and stuff is with Fantasy Flight, and the ownership of the IP is with Warden. I'm guessing not even the other one. Yeah, good at that. So yeah, I think sadly we'll probably never see those.
I think when they have that kind of situation though, where they're like, we can't release this game because somebody else has the rules and we can't do that, they could very probably easily sidestep it with a fairly decent rip-off, and people would still go, oh, that's basically this game and I love that, so I'm going to go get that now instead. There's ways around that kind of stuff. Space Hulk's another one I just remembered as another standalone game, although that's had multiple iterations. That's another fantastic game.
Yes, it is, and I feel like they could do more with that. But all they do is just bring it out every now and again, and then just leave it. Warhammer Quest: The Shadow over Hammerhole. That was a great little game and had the potential to be much more. I think the problem that had was you needed a DM for it. In some ways, that made it a better game than Blackstone Fortress, but in other ways, it's better than Silver Tower.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Thank you for his first watch this evening. Well, I hope you've enjoyed it, Face Off. Face it.
Face it. Face off. Face up.
And I hope you've been enjoying the Battlefield too. I'm guessing you have been enjoying it. It's good to have you on board. Estimators Mighty Empires. I've got Mighty Empires over here somewhere. Again, occasionally think we should do that. Please try Master of the Universe Battleground. Yeah, I can't see that happening, but it might.
You never say never, but the next month is a month of Moonstone and our Underworlds knockout tournament first. Yeah. And we'll see where we get from there.
Keep me focused. I'm going to get blinkers. Maybe I'll secretly work on a upgrade for Battle Masters.
You know what? If you want to do a month of Battle Masters where we come up with a new version of it, I'm more than happy to do that. Maybe that could be our January project when we're sitting there going,
I feel like it's got to be longer than a month.
Maybe
there's got to be a lot of games to change the rules. I mean, Undaunted. If we got Stalingrad, we could do a month of Undaunted Stalingrad. Because quite fancy getting that.
Well, it took a while, didn't it? So
they didn't bother. They didn't come back to it.
Well, that just means that they might have put us in the people to send this to pile without saying anything. You never know.
Maybe. They haven't got my address. Stalingrad in real time.
It would be almost, wouldn't it?
We've been playing this game for 400 days now.
Seth says stay on target. Yes, we do have that problem a little bit. The problem is we record one game or something and then we get like 3 views. Right, rubbish, throw it out, next thing.
Yeah. Kind of need to get over that hill of actually people actually know us from playing this particular game that they enjoy, and they want to come back and watch it rather than again playing it once and 10 people watching and then giving up. But it's hard. It's hard. I'm sort of slightly heartened by the amount of love we got for your Underworld idea. So I suspect Underworld might becoming more prevalent. It is becoming more prevalent, but I think that might become a more permanent feature again.
You never know. You never know. We'll have to get more people involved on the channel, I think, to get some more Underworlds players in, because that's something that people like, is seeing other people coming in and playing games. So maybe we can try that a bit.
Yeah. Beth likes the shiny objects approach these days, which just shows as you can't please everybody. Whichever one you do, there's always some people who don't want you to do it.
Yeah. That's probably pretty much.
There are some people who won't watch it, who don't exclusively play Underworld, and there are some people who come and join us because we don't exclusively play Underworld, so there's not much you can do about it.
No, so we're going to do what we do, and if people enjoy it, then welcome along for the ride, and if not, well, that's the internet. I think...
Sterling says he has a copy of Chaos of the Old World, and it's great. I think you're based in the US, aren't you? But if you're ever in the UK, bring it over and we'll give it a go. One of our patrons has it. I think it's Malicious has it.
Ooh.
And he's not coming to.
Oh, boo.
think I would definitely be up for playing that if it was available.
So
Keep it varied, says Faith. Well, I think we
Yeah.
will keep it varied. I think we're going to... Underworlds, it's quite quick. We can get still down the lane and then pursue other things.
it's quick, but we can vary it because we can pick up different warbands fairly quickly. Whereas if we want to do Age of Sigmar, it would be the same army for about 6 weeks running because we wouldn't be able to get anything else painted or built. So it'd be like,
No.
here's our 5th game of exactly the same 2 armies fighting each other.
Yeah, I mean, unless we did a Path to Glory campaign for that. No, stop it.
Sterling says,
Do
could
you want
one
to
of
play
you...
Liar Rampant? Can one of you drop me an email? Probably.
Well, there you go. I've just put our it's the wrong email actually. It's
Okay.
Agents of Sigmar. Agents of Sigmar.
You've missed out our email.
at
That's
Gmail.
like giving somebody the wrong phone number. Although the correct email is probably fairly easy to work out.
Yeah. There you go. Sterling, just bung us an email at agentssigmar@gmail.com and we will pick that up.
Yeah.
So I think that's probably the end of the show for us tonight.
No, I'm unsolicited picks. No, please.
We won't be live this coming Thursday because we'll be packing for Agents Con. So we won't be around this Thursday, but we will be back next Tuesday, this time 9:30, to play our first game of the Underworld's Knockout Championship. So do join us for that one, all you lovely people who want to see that going on.
Absolutely. Look out for extra little videos about what we're going to be playing, or which warbands we're going to be playing, coming. I don't know if they're going to come each day, but fairly regularly. And then maybe look out on our Facebook page some photos from Agents Con. You can see all the fun you missed out on if you didn't go. Which con are you going to? Well,
Agents Con 22.
Agents Con 2022. So their own little convention.
Yeah.
Literally tens of people.
It's going to be about 18, I think. 18 of us?
Coming to Market Harbour in the UK to play games with us and just have a good time. So we will put the photos on Facebook, and then maybe Agents Con 2023 will get up into the 20s.
Or everyone would have forgotten that. Well, that was crap. We're not going back to that.
We'll do that again. Maybe it'll peak at 7.
If you're interested at all, if you are in the UK and with the name like GB, maybe you are, and you can get to Market Harbour this coming Saturday, do Google Agents Con 22. You can buy tickets on willengames.com.
Only a fiver.
Yeah, only a £5. Yeah, or if you're a patron, it's free. So there you go. And
Good luck for it. Looking forward to attending one. Brilliant. Well, we'll maybe see you next year.
yay! Right, so I think that's it for us tonight. We're going to go off now and start packing for Agents Con, and we'll see you all in the not too distant future.
Yeah, we'll be back. Oh, cheers, Francis. Francis loves us. We're the best.
We love you too, Francis.
Signal con. Excellent. Brilliant.
Thanks all for joining,
Yeah,
and
well, we love
thank you
doing
for...
it. Really nice to have you on tonight. It's great. So thanks for listening, everybody.
This has been
Thanks for listening, podcast people as well.
It's been the best chat in ages, so do let us know in the comments what brought you along to this chat so we can do more of this stuff that people want to hear us chat about. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Stay safe, everybody. We'll see you
Cheers,
soon.
everyone.
Bye.
Bye.